Yeah, okay. Hey guys, my name is Nibiri and it's time for another kicking of the week. And today I want to show you how you can make a new kick using older layers that we created together in other videos. So the kick that we're going to make is this one. And all the layers in here are created in previous videos, so if you watched some of them, you might recognize them. So let's start out with the punch. A few weeks ago, I created this kick. And that was that riot shift kick. And I wanted to use this punch to create something new. And as you can see over here, I haven't tweaked anything. So this is the kick as I had it from the tutorial. And now before we're gonna start going into our mixer and distorting stuff, we're gonna do stuff in the sample as well. So let me open up the sample and put it on. And as you can see over here, I'm pitching this quite much, stretching it a little bit, and using some pogo to create a new sound or a new tone for this punch. So let me just take away the pogo, for example. And if you just pitch it down, it might start sounding bad, but it was a quite high punch, so it might work out. It sounds decent, but then I'm using pogo to just get it a little bit more punchy again. And I'm using this time stretching to just get it a little bit tight, because otherwise it's quite a long punch. And I felt I needed a little bit of a shorter sound. So the thing is, whenever you're having a kick done and you like the punch of it, but you do want to reuse it to create a new punch, you can just tweak it in the settings of the sample itself and play around with this. And maybe if you're not in FL Studio and you don't have the pogo, you could even try, let me just back this up so I don't ruin the punch. You could even try putting an automation clip on the punch of the pitch of the punch, so that we can create a new sound. And this sounds a little bit bad, but if you do it correctly, you can maybe have a longer sound again, like this. Maybe stretch out a little bit. And you can create a kind of pogo-ish effect like that. So now that we're done messing around with the sample in the settings, I'm gonna go into the mixer channel and show you what I've done to the sample itself. I've been boosting some peaks and making some tiny dips and just shaping the sound a little bit. And after that, I distorted it completely. And this distortion is just nice. Just opened it up all the way, and it just helps creating that new sound. So it's nice and distorted. And this was already all for the punch. And I just want to show you that you don't even need to make too much big changes or big change in mixer channels to create a new sound. You can just put a quite extreme EQ on there and make a whole new sound in, well, just 2 effects like I did. So then we're going into the next step. And over here, I felt the punch was okay, but it wasn't that good yet. And I started pitching it down again. And I pogoed it a little bit, but we're just shaping this sound again to just create a new character and something completely different from the sample that we started out of. So going from that sound that we had, I'm changing this into this. So this is becoming a little bit lower than what we had over here. And I just like that, and it worked out for this layering with the other punch that I want to show you. But I just want to emphasize, you can really play around with the sample and stretch it and pogo it and pitch it and just do weird stuff with it and just distort it again, and you might get a sick sound. After I was done playing around with this punch, I took the punch from the Sub-Zero project kick that I made earlier, and yeah, just layered those together and made sure that they were in phase, of course. So I might have tweaked some stuff over here. No, I don't. I probably did all the tweaking in here, stretching it a little bit and pogoing it so that it fits with the extra punch layer on there, and that creates this sound. So we're just adding this old punch as a kind of club kick to just make it a little bit more beefy and more full. And after that, I went to distort it a little bit, boosting some lows and using a wave shaper to just create the first part of the distortion. Then adding distortion. And this distortion is a little bit harsh, but I toned it down in the mix, so it isn't too special. And I used the clip filter a little bit so it didn't become too harsh. And then I'm using some extra EQ to just balance out, bring a little bit of that resonance back again without distorting it, and just some high end. And now over to the tail. Last week I showed you a video where I made this kick. And I've been playing around with this kick as well to just create a whole new sound for the tail. And this one was just a little bit more easy because I'm just using the pogo all the way and just stretching it a little bit to create a new sound. So we're going from the straight kick like we have over here. And we're going to this sound. Let me just turn off the distortion. We're going into this sound. And that's all pogo. So yeah, we just stretch this quite much. And that wouldn't really sound good. And now just putting the pogo down, we create this sound. And that sounds nice, in my opinion. Then in the effects, I'm just EQing this a tiny bit, boosting the high mids, and just taking away some of the lows before distortion so it can become a little bit more crunchy. And you've seen me using shade quite a lot in videos, and I thought I want to try a step away from shade because some of you don't have shade and you might feel that you can't really use the EQ properly because you can't make any parameter move. Well, I want to show you that with some automation you can make some easy movement inside of an EQ, and it can really just help balancing out your tail and just shape some movement for your tail as well. Then after that EQ, I opened up a distortion and I just went for a crunchy grunge, and it's nothing too special. I haven't really tweaked any of the stuff in here, but it just created a little bit of a more gritty sound. So we're going from this into this. And after that, I'm just balancing the lows out a little bit by boosting them. And that creates this sound. So now that we're done in the mixer, let's go back into the playlist and let's just play the punch and the tail together. And that sounds like this. And that's nice, but a little thing I want to show you as well is that sometimes only using the pogo isn't enough to create a nice drive for your kick. So maybe like this, your kick or the transition from the tail into the punch might sound bad again. From this instance, it's okay, but sometimes you just might want to re-stretch it a tiny bit so that it maybe fits a little bit better. It's just partially a matter of preference, but sometimes you really get some issues on this little part over here when it transitions back into the punch. So now that we're done in the mixer channel, our punch sounds nice and the tail sounds right. And we've done our final stretching over here to just make sure that the tail fits the punch. You might want to add some reverb. And this reverb over here just comes straight from the punch. And it's just basically my punch bus over here sending through a send channel with some reverb on there. And I'm just exporting this. Normally I wouldn't use the tail in here, but I'm just picking the end of this and I'm putting that in here. And I'm just using a volume automation, and just volume automation is quite generic and it works most of the times. It keeps your punch clean, leaves a little bit of the character of your punch going into the tail and comes up at the end. So if we then play everything together without the effects on the final bus, it sounds like this. And that sounds nice. And then I'm just adding some extra EQ, balancing it out a tiny bit, and then rounding it off with some limiting. and that creates our final kick, and that kick sounds like this. So I hope you liked this video and you learned something from this, and hopefully I'll see you back soon again. Cheers!